There's a moment I see a lot of people hit as they approach 65. They're looking forward to this next phase of life, but maybe they're not ready to retire yet because they're enjoying their work. They like the routine and they want to keep earning income. But then that Medicare question starts to creep in. Do you need to sign up for Medicare as soon as you turn 65, or can you just keep your employer coverage? Will I be penalized if I wait? And suddenly, what felt like a clear plan starts to get cloudy. This is where so many people make mistakes. Not because they're careless, but because the rules around Medicare change the moment you keep working past age 65. I've met people who ended up paying lifetime penalties because nobody explained the rules. And others kept paying for coverage they didn't even need simply because they thought Medicare worked one way when it actually worked another. But the good news is, if you take time to plan ahead, you can avoid all that. Hello, I'm Scott Norris. I'm an investment advisor with Royal Fund Management and the owner of Nexus Financial Group, an independent insurance agency. For years, I've been helping pre-retirees and retirees navigate the decisions that come along with this season of life. And one of the most common and most misunderstood is how Medicare fits into your plan when you choose to work past 65. Working longer could be a good problem to have because it could mean that you're healthy, active, and you really enjoy what you're doing. But the Medicare rules don't automatically adjust just because you're still working. In today's video, I'm going to break this down step by step so that you can understand when you actually need to sign up for Medicare if you're still working, how your employer health plans work alongside Medicare, what mistakes can cost you penalties for life, and how to approach this decision as part of the bigger retirement picture. Before we dive in, make sure you like this video, leave comments if this topic hits close to home, and subscribe for more retirement planning guidance. And if you'd like to see how this fits into your own retirement strategy, book a call with me using the link in the description below. So let's get started. Do you have to sign up for Medicare if you're still working? This is one of the most common questions I hear, and the answer is it depends. If you or your spouse are covered by a large group of 20 or more employees, you can usually delay enrolling in Part B without any penalty. Your coverage stays primary, your work coverage that is, and your Medicare would act as a secondary. But if you work for a small employer with fewer than 20 employees, Medicare would become the primary insurance at 65, even if you stay on the employer plan. And here's why that matters. If you don't sign up for Medicare in that situation, your employer plan could refuse to pay certain claims because Medicare was supposed to be the primary. This can leave you with a large bill. So the size of your employer will determine your first major decision. How Medicare and employer coverage work together, a lot of people think that once you turn 65, Medicare automatically takes over and their employer insurance stops. That's just not the case. If you keep working, your coverage will coordinate between the two plans, but the order really does matter. So here's a simple way to look about it. A large employer, 20 plus employees, your employer is the primary and Medicare is the secondary. But if you work for a small employer under 20, Medicare is the primary. The employer plan is the secondary. If you're in a small company and you don't sign up, there's going to be gaps. So here's an example. Let's say you're 67 and you're working for a small company with 15 employees. You stuck with their health insurance, but you skipped signing up for Medicare. You now need a surgery and the bill is $80,000. The employer plan will look for Medicare to pay that first part, but because you never signed up, they're only going to pay what Medicare would have left behind. You're now potentially responsible for the difference. That's why understanding how these two work together is so important. So should you sign up for Part A at 65? Now, even if you delay Part B, many people choose to sign up for Part A when they turn 65. Why? Because for most people, as long as you've worked at least 40 quarters, Part A is premium free. But there's a very important exception. If you're contributing to a health savings account, an HSA, once you enroll in Medicare Part A, you can no longer make new contributions. And for a lot of high income earners, those HSA contributions are very valuable. It's one of the most tax efficient ways to save for future healthcare costs. So before you enroll in Part A, ask yourself, are you still contributing contributing to an HSA? And if so, you need to stop 6 months prior before signing up. Is the value of continuing those contributions greater than the benefit of Part A right now? For some people, it might make sense to wait on Part A just to keep contributing to that type of an account. What happens if you finally retire? Well, here's another trap people fall into. When you finally leave your employment, you don't have forever to get your Medicare enrollment right. There's a special election period. It's an 8-month window that starts when you leave your job or lose your employer coverage. If you miss that window, you can face lifetime penalties on your premiums. For Part B, the penalty is 10% for every 12 months that you were not enrolled, and for Part D, it's 1% per month 63 days after you were first eligible. So those penalties are never going to go away. Here's an example. If you delay Part B and then miss your special enrollment period, you could be paying 20% or more every month for the rest of your life. This is why planning ahead is so important. Planning ahead for your Medicare decisions aren't just about healthcare. They are part of the foundation of your financial plan, and they're tied to the bigger retirement picture. When do you stop working? How will your retirement income affect your Medicare premiums? If you've been a higher income earner, it could potentially affect your Medicare premiums through a Medicare adjustment called IRMA. Whether continuing your HSA contributions makes sense in your case, or should you turn them off if they don't? And how to transition from an employer plan without creating any gaps. These decisions affect your cash flow, your tax planning, and your peace of mind. So here's the big picture. Working past 65 can be a great decision, especially if you're active and you're building more financial security. You might even be doing what you enjoy, but Medicare doesn't automatically adjust to fit that decision. The rules change, the timing can change, and if you don't plan ahead, you can end up with penalties and gaps in your coverage, or be paying for something that you don't even need. But the good news is, all these issues are avoidable if you know when you need to sign up, how your employer plan will coordinate with Medicare, and how these choices fit into the bigger picture of retirement, your income, taxes, and healthcare costs. Then you can make more confident decisions without the stress and without second guessing. These are the kinds of conversations that I have with clients every single week. And what I have found is that Medicare rarely stands alone. It's always connected to other areas of planning: when to retire, how to draw your income, how to minimize your taxes, and how to protect your savings in a retirement that might last 20 or 30 years or more. So if you're approaching 65, or maybe you're already past it and you're just unsure about how these pieces will fit together, now's the time to get clarity. Book a call with me using the link in the description below. We'll sit down and we'll walk through where you're at today, and we'll build a plan that covers not just Medicare, but how all those moving parts of retirement work together. You don't need to make these decisions alone. I believe retirement is a process, not an event. It doesn't require guesswork, it requires a plan. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video.